This was supposed to be Hollywood's next billion-dollar dynasty. It was Universal Pictures' bold as brass declaration to the world: we're building our own Avengers. And here they were, a murderer's row of screen titans: Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe, Johnny Depp, Javier Bardem, all brought together to resurrect the studio's classic monsters. Instead, this image became a meme, a viral symbol of pure hubris, and the tombstone for one of the most spectacular belly flops in modern movie history. This wasn't just a failed movie, it was the collapse of an entire universe before it even got started. So how did one photoshopped picture and a series of disastrous decisions curse Hollywood's monster-sized ambitions? This is the story of the Dark Universe. But to really get why this failed so hard, you have to understand just how big the dream was. When you think Universal Pictures, you think monsters. Back in the 30s and 40s, they gave the world Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, and the Mummy. These weren't just characters, they were cinematic icons that basically defined the horror genre. For decades, these monsters were mostly gathering dust, only popping up in disconnected reboots. But then came 2012. Marvel's The Avengers hit theaters and completely changed the game, proving that a shared cinematic universe was the new golden ticket. Suddenly, every studio in Hollywood was scrambling to build its own interconnected world, and Universal figured it was sitting on a gold mine. Why invent new heroes when you have a roster of globally recognized legends? The vision was grand and honestly brilliant on paper, a modern action horror franchise where these monsters would all exist in the same world. The Dark Universe was born, designed to go toe-to-toe with the MCU by using its own legacy characters. They just needed a launch pad, one movie to kick it all off. That movie was The Mummy, and that's where the dream began to curdle. The hype train didn't start with a trailer, it started with some absolutely massive casting news. This wasn't going to be a B-movie monster mash, this was an A-list affair. Tom Cruise, maybe the biggest movie star on the planet, was set to lead The Mummy. Then came Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll, positioned as the Nick Fury of this universe, running a secret monster hunting group called Prodigium. And the plans didn't stop there. Johnny Depp was announced as the Invisible Man, and Javier Bardem was in talks to play Frankenstein's monster. The ambition was staggering, and in May of 2017, right before The Mummy's release, Universal unveiled its masterpiece, a promotional photo of its new all-stars. There they stood, Cruise, Crowe, Depp, Bardem, and Sofia Boutella, who played the new Mummy. This picture was meant to be a promise of the epic saga to come, but the internet saw something else. It saw arrogance. The studio was so confident it was promoting a team-up before a single film had even proven successful. It instantly became a meme, a symbol of a studio putting the cart miles before the horse. The most ironic part, the photo wasn't even real. The actors were all so busy that they couldn't get in the same room. The image was a composite, photoshopped together. Behind the scenes, things on The Mummy were a mess. By many accounts, the production was chaotic. The director, Alex Kurtzman, was a successful writer and producer, but he had only directed one small indie drama before this. Now he was in charge of a massive $190 million blockbuster meant to launch a whole universe. And according to reports, at the center of the chaos was its star, Tom Cruise. Cruise didn't just star in The Mummy. A scathing report from Variety claimed he basically took creative control. His contract allegedly gave him power over everything from the script to post-production. Art director Frank Walsh was quoted as saying, "This is very much a film of two halves, before Tom and after Tom." Cruise, famous for his intense dedication, brought in his own trusted writers to completely overhaul the script, shaping the film into a classic Tom Cruise action movie. As a result, the screen time for Sofia Boutella's Mummy was reportedly cut down, while Cruise's character was given a much larger, more dramatic arc. The entire vision shifted from a monster-centric horror film to a star-driven action flick. Kurtzman himself later called the experience painful, admitting the film wasn't what I wanted it to be. The studio wanted the fun, adventurous spirit of the much-loved 1999 Brendan Fraser classic, but the reality on set was a tug of war. You had a director struggling with the film's huge scale on one side and a superstar on the other, whose creative instincts were fundamentally at odds with what a monster movie needs. The result was a movie at war with itself, a disjointed, tonally confused blockbuster that ended up pleasing almost no one. On June 9th, 2017, The Mummy was unleashed, and the critics were not kind. The film was savaged, currently holding a dismal 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. The general consensus called it a mess of clunky action and forced humor that undercut any real horror. Audiences weren't thrilled either, giving it a Beyond Cinema score, and the bad word of mouth spread like wildfire. The box office told the rest of the story. Despite a massive production and marketing budget, the film opened in the US with a weak $31.7 million. It got steamrolled by Wonder Woman, which was still packing theaters in its second week, while the film scraped together $410 million worldwide, largely thanks to international audiences. It was a huge financial disappointment. After you factor in marketing costs and the theater's cut, estimates suggest The Mummy lost the studio somewhere around $95 million. The dream was dead on arrival. The Dark Universe, once hyped as the next big thing, was quietly canceled. The planned sequels, like a Bride of Frankenstein that was circling Angelina Jolie, were all scrapped. That star-studded cast photo was no longer a promise. It was a memorial for a franchise that died before it ever had a chance to live. So what went so disastrously wrong? The failure of the Dark Universe really boils down to a few critical mistakes. First, and this is the big one, they put the cart miles before the horse. Universal was so obsessed with copying Marvel's success that they forgot the rule that Marvel itself followed. Just make one good movie first. Think about it. Iron Man worked in 2008 because it was just a great movie, period. The universe building was subtle, a little wink in a post-credit scene. The Mummy, on the other hand, was suffocated by its own ambition. It's barely a movie about a mummy. It's a 2-hour commercial for a franchise that would never happen. You can feel this most painfully with Russell Crowe's Dr. Jekyll, who hijacks the movie for a long, boring info dump about his secret organization, completely killing the momentum. Second, the movie had no idea what it wanted to be. The 1999 Mummy worked because it knew it was a fun, pulpy adventure. Basically, Indiana Jones with a monster. This 2017 reboot tried to be everything at once. A gritty action movie, a serious horror film, and a buddy comedy, but it failed at all of them. It had none of the charm of its predecessor, replacing it with generic CGI action and a story that felt more like a weak Mission Impossible sequel than a classic monster tale. It wasn't scary enough for horror fans and wasn't fun enough for action fans. Finally, there's the star power paradox. Tom Cruise is a true movie star who can get people into seats, but his involvement came at a cost. The movie became less about the mummy and more about Tom Cruise fights a mummy. His character is a wisecracking hero who never feels like he's in real danger, which completely deflates any tension. The very thing that was supposed to guarantee its success ended up stripping the movie of its soul. The monster was no longer the star of its own movie. The spectacular collapse of the Dark Universe served as a brutal, expensive, and very public lesson for Hollywood. You can't just manufacture a cinematic universe from a marketing plan. They have to grow organically, built on the foundation of a good story that people actually care about. Audiences can smell a boardroom decision from a mile away. In the wake of this failure, Universal smartly pivoted. They ditched the interconnected blockbuster idea and instead backed smaller, director-driven horror films. The first big success of this new strategy was 2020's The Invisible Man, a low-budget, terrifying, and critically acclaimed hit. It was everything The Mummy wasn't: focused, character-driven, and prioritizing actual scares over clumsy franchise building. The Dark Universe is now a ghost franchise, a perfect cautionary tale of what happens when ambition and hubris get in the way of good storytelling. That infamous photoshopped image is the perfect symbol for it all, a collection of impressive parts that, when artificially smashed together, created something with no chemistry, no soul, and no life. It's a stark reminder that before you can build a universe, you first have to tell one good story. But that's my take. What do you think? Was the Dark Universe doomed from the very start, or could it have worked if they had just started with a better movie? And which classic monster were you most excited to see get a modern update? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this autopsy of a Hollywood disaster, be sure to like and subscribe for more.